Okay, part 11 of Federalist Paper number 1. I'll start with the paragraph, and yet, however, just these sentiments will be allowed to be, we have already sufficient indications that it will happen in this as in all former cases of great national discussion. A torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. To judge from the conduct of the opposite parties, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to evince the justness of their opinions and to increase the number of their converts by the loudness of their declamation and by the bitterness of their invectives. An enlightened zeal for the energy and efficiency of government will be stigmatized as the offspring of a temper fond of despotic power and hostile to the principles of liberty. An overscrupulous jealousy of danger to the rights of the people, which is more commonly the fault of the head than the heart, will be represented as mere pretense and artifice, the bait for popularity at the expense of public good. It will be forgotten, on the other hand, that jealousy is the usual concomitant of violent love, and that the noble enthusiasm of liberty is too apt to be infected with a spirit of narrow and illiberal distrust. On the other hand, it will be equally forgotten that the vigor of government is essential to the security of liberty, that in the contemplation of a sound and well-informed judgment, their interests can never be separated, and that a dangerous ambition more often lurks behind the species mask of zeal for the rights of the people than under the forbidding appearance of zeal for the firmness and efficiency of government. History will teach us that the former has been found a much more certain road to the introduction of despotism than the latter, and that of those men who have overturned the liberties of republics, the great numbers have begun their career by paying an obsequious court to the people, commencing demagogues and ending tyrants. It's another beautiful paragraph. Let me actually start at the very end of this paragraph. History will teach us that the former has been found a much more certain road to the introduction of despotism than the latter, and that of those men who have overturned the liberties of republics, the greatest numbers have begun their career by paying an obsequious court to the people, commencing as demagogues and ending tyrants. So these guys studied history real well. Madison, Hamilton, John Jay, especially Madison and Hamilton, had studied ancient history, the Greek history, the Roman history. And they had also studied the history of the countries of Europe and see how everything in the past would have a cyclical way to it. Cyclical, I mean, as in a cycle, okay? It starts, let's say, with, they thought it always started with democracy. In other words, and when they use the word democracy, they don't mean it in a good way. They say anybody can vote, anybody who doesn't know anything about anything or who's not careful or is not informed about what's going on in the society, they take over. And then after that, they mess things up, they create chaos, and a tyrant comes and says, give me the power and I will make everything okay. And then that tyrant just goes back from one cycle to another, okay? You get aristocracy takes over, the rich people, the well-to-do people, they mess things up. Mob mentality takes over. Everybody comes and says, we can do this better. And before you know it, they mess everything up. And a tyrant comes in and says, now that you've messed up everything, give me absolute power and I'll make everything right. And when people are living in a chaotic situation, they will give up their freedom just to have stability. And he says we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of the fact that some of these people that are making promises and they're talking about this constitution, they're going to come to you and start like demagogues. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, okay? And once they get in power, before you know it, they'll become tyrants, okay? Commencing demagogues, they start as demagogues and they end as tyrants. So when you go back at the beginning of this paragraph, look at that sentence that says, a torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. It is almost like a flood. He uses the language of flood. He's talking about these bad passions that will take over you because these people are telling lies or they're manipulating you. And before you know it, this flood will take us all to the bottom of the sea. And we'll drown. So be careful with all these people that are going to play with your emotions and are going to tell you the wrong things. Sometimes at the beginning they might mean well, but before you know it, they're going to tell you stuff that you like to hear, and pretty soon they will tell you that they are your ruler. You can't do anything. They want you to say they will do everything for you. Just don't worry about it, and gradually take your freedom away. And one of the important things in this paragraph, it says, an enlightened zeal for the energy and efficiency of government will be stigmatized as the offspring of a temper found of despotic power and hostile to the principles of liberty. One of the things that they did by bringing this constitution and offering it to people was they were saying that the government that we have under the Articles of Confederation, it is not energetic enough. When they use that term, they're saying that every time we want to do something, we can't because it doesn't have enough energy. It doesn't have enough power to do what the business of people requires. Every time we have to get a little money to do something, we have to make a requisition to the states, ask them for money. Sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't. So before you know it, we can't do anything. So we need an energetic government to make sure that you're taken care of, that you're secure from the borders, people will not attack. At the same time, if the government decides to do something, it can actually do it because it has enough money, it has enough energy to take care of it. So here it says that those people who are our enemies will stigmatize the fact that we want an energetic government. In other words, they put a bad stain, they give it a bad name. They make it like something shameful. And they pretty much this way they deceive you, they fool you. So it says don't fall for that. And again, look, it uses that religious term. It says, to judge from the conduct of the opposite parties, those who are against us, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to evince the justness of their opinion and to increase the number of their converts by the loudness of their declamation and by the bitterness of their invective. In other words, all the nasty things, awful things that they'll be telling us, they'll just get louder. They think if they yell, even if they don't make any sense, they will get your attention and they will make us look bad. And by diverting your attention, by making you think of all the bad things, they'll gradually get you to a point where you won't accept this Constitution, and then you will fall prey. You will be just a toy in the hands of the British Empire, the French, the Spanish, and everything. Any other country that would be powerful. One important word that we're going to hear over and over again is passion. And we will talk about it a little bit more. It's not like when we say these days somebody's passionate about something. That has a positive meaning. But back then, passion had a very negative meaning associated with it, as if something took over your mind and you could not see things straight. You could not make good judgments, as if something darkened your eyes and darkened your mind and darkened your spirit, where you could not judge as well as you could. So keep that in mind, and we will continue in the next session.